Today, right here in Duluth, homes are being foreclosed based on robo-signed documents, fake affidavits, and lost loan documents. Every day, I meet people who don't know who owns their mortgage. Mortgage servicing companies, such as Bank of America Home Loan Servicing, make more money keeping people in endless default than actually helping them refinance or modify their mortgage. Thousands of homeowners have been foreclosed based on questionable loan documentation, and our legislature and our Congress and even the Minnesota Supreme Court have looked the other way. In the fall of 2008, there were a few congressmen who tried to force mortgage lenders into modifying mortgage and into changing the bankruptcy laws so that people could pay what their home was worth rather than what they owe. Those efforts were defeated. Today, there are a few people in Congress who still want to help the consumer stay in their loan by requiring lenders to accept lower payments and write down principal loan amounts to value the home. But these people are few and are in the minority. Instead, we've relied on a voluntary system called HAMP and HOPE, where Congress has asked servicers to please help people change their mortgage and modify their mortgage, and it has, by and large, been unsuccessful. As I mentioned, there's a perverse incentive. These loan servicing companies are more interested in collecting over-the-limit late fees and service fees, inspection fees, than they are in actually helping people modify their mortgages into a payment that is affordable. Far more politicians say it's the consumer's fault. Let's just get them foreclosed and get these houses resold so we can get back to where we were before. I see people who have a foreclosure scheduled for next week, but their loan servicer is telling them that they just need to send more information, or send the same information one more time, or just fill out the loan modification papers and send them one more time, and they might not foreclose. There's no certainty to that process, and it's ridiculous that the lenders have not been forced to process and accept mortgage loan modifications. But when we make policy that simply relies on the good faith and fairness of large corporations and the lenders, then this is what we get. Foreclosures in our homes, damage to our communities, and to our city, and ultimately to our country. My second point is the privatization of wealth and the socialization of loss. In 2009, the American people bailed out banks and insurers and loan guarantee agencies with taxpayer money. Little people like you and me can take a risk and lose our house, and we're called irresponsible. But insurers and banks can take risks, and they don't have to suffer their losses. We, the taxpayer, bail them out. But instead of enacting meaningful banking reform and real consumer protection, the goal of these banks and of the wealthy is to get back into the profits in the same way of doing things they did before. A new consumer protection agency does not have the political support to enact new regulations to protect consumers. A new health care law cannot get the support to enable low-cost health insurance for everyone. Presidential candidates insist that deregulation works and that money trickles down, and that if we help the rich, they will help us. Even when our nation's economy hit rock bottom, these same politicians want to get back to the same failed policies and the same invisible hand that failed us so miserably. Taxpayers pay the bills, bail out the economy, suffer increased state, county, city, and school taxes, and in exchange, we're insulted with new stories of bank executives receiving huge bonuses, candidates who describe the top earners as job creators who should not be burdened with paying their share of the taxes. Now, the ordinary consumer is not completely without blame. As a society, we've become so dependent and sold on credit that many of us don't live within our means. If money was available, we took it. In general, people have become materialistic, to buy now, pay later, unable to distinguish between wants and needs, or delay gratification. Our society, including the 99%, is not entirely without blame. Our entire economy is based too much on consumer spending, but it is the lack of regulation, the lack of oversight, and the trust that these large corporations and banking institutions will do the right thing that has enabled and caused the economic problems that we face, that our kids will continue to face, and that our children will face in the future. I have only one more point to make. Legal history teaches us that every civilization, every society, and every government has eventually failed. From Romans Empire to English feudalism to the French Revolution and monarchies, one central cause of that failure is the gap between the rich and the poor. When the richest 10% have 60 or 70 or 80% of our country's wealth, when we lose our middle class, it's no longer possible that anyone can work hard and become wealthy and climb the social ladder. Then change is forced upon that society by the people through revolution, uprising, and eventually government collapse. Our state and national leaders, now more than ever, need to be reminded of that historical fact, and changes need to be made before that becomes America's reality. I'd like to quote from Federalist Paper number 51, written by James Madison. "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary." I want to thank you for listening today. I want to thank you who have camped here and trying to bring attention to the needs of the 99%. You've already changed the national discourse and have gotten people talking about the real issues that affect us. I personally feel you don't need to be arrested or have violence or be co-opted to make a difference and be heard. It's my hope that you will take the next step, become involved in existing organizations, nonprofits of interest to you, take up the pen, write your leaders, volunteer, set up your own nonprofit and organize spot protests, have educational activities and speakers. And I thank you for letting me speak here today.
Hey.